We are back for season 3 of Permission Talk. This is all things holidays. We want to make sure that you have in order some greater information to be able to do this whole holiday season well. And I am so excited. We have been privileged to bring the Table with AO to Permission Talk all at the same time. It's a whole collaboration. And y'all welcome to Permission Talk for the first time, the Anthony O'Neal. Ladies, can we clap it up? Yes. Brother.
Yes. This is the first time. I hope it's not the last time. I need to be on next season.
Yes.
Then the season after that. You know, I'm just a good-looking, saved brother man who's black. So
we trying to get you married out here. Okay. Man, yes. I am so excited to have you, and I am excited about this episode because I believe that I'm going to gain so much information, and I think that's what it's all about. Not just, you know, doing conversation for the sake of doing it, but really being able to add to the viewers and yourself in the midst of doing this. I really wanted Permission Talk, this whole idea to be a whole conversation around just real life things that we experience, and, you know, we're coming up on the holidays, and I want us to kind of get to know you a little bit before we push into the content. So we generally do a little icebreaker to kick things off, and so Janiyah is going to give us a little icebreaker for them to get to know you.
Yes. Question for the room. And Anthony, we'll let you go first.
Okay.
Tell us, what is the best gift that you've ever received?
Ooh. Go anywhere.
The best gift I've ever... Can that gift be from me, or just have to be from someone else?
Yes. It can be however you want it to be.
Hey, man, listen. I think the best gift I ever received was from my ex-fiance 10 years ago, and it was a thing of gummy bears.
Okay.
And it was these gummy bears that you could only get from London.
Okay.
And she was in London. She brought them back. I haven't had them things since then, and that was the first time I ever had them. And so I think that was the best gift. It's just something simple, sweet, straight to the point. But now, if we really want to be big, the best gift was when I bought my Bentley myself for my birthday. God is good.
Come on, Bentley.
Okay, we're done.
Come on, Bentley. And your London gummy bears. Y'all, that's bougie right there.
I was like, must be nice.
Hey, I wonder why she say, but that's another episode. Hey, man, neither here nor there. I'm out. Keisha, what was your best gift?
Okay, so this gift I received recently for my last birthday, and it was from this one right here.
Oh,
so
don't do that. Y'all, she's trying to make me cry.
It was a very sentimental dress because me and my husband are believing for a child, and so she basically gave me a dress for me to wear for my maternity photo shoot and 2 onesies for our future daughter.
And son.
They be trying to see twins.
Y'all, I'm trying to push double for her trouble, like, man.
Right, so, but that was such a sentimental gift. Like, it really meant a lot for me. So that was one of the best gifts.
Dang, I was going to say you too.
Aww.
I was going to say, she gives good gifts. Like, she gives
I'm really
good,
sentimental.
Because I think you're so thoughtful. Like, I was going to say the gift that you got me for Christmas last year, like, it was all of my favorite things. Like, she knows I like my hair, so she got me, like, stuff for my hair. It was, like, all the things that I love in one little box. And so, and I appreciate thoughtfulness. I appreciate thoughtful people. And I knew, like, even the card, like, she write all over the card.
Literally, I have to go on the back.
Yeah, like, it's all of that. Like, I just really appreciate thoughtfulness. And so I can tell you really, like, thought through it. And it meant a lot to me.
That's what's up. I think that I love most that even when he talked about his gift, you know, the Bentley, it's a little flashy, but even when you talked about the gummy bears, it still had thoughtfulness. It didn't cost the whole, well, actually, I don't know how much London gummy bears cost. Let me not jump out there. I ain't elevated up there yet, Anthony. But mine is in that same vein of like thoughtfulness. I'm giving 2. My children on Mother's Day, they made a song for me, and it really was describing basically how they see me and why they love me. And each of the 3 boys, one that's 3, one that's 6, and one that's 8, basically told about why they love me. And I think to be able to reflect on what they see, because sometimes I think you can totally discount what you pour was super special. And then my husband on my 8th anniversary gave me a new ring, and we renewed our vows and all that stuff. It was like, it was so beautiful, and it was a surprise.
Yes, she likes surprises.
I love surprises.
Love the surprise. I love surprises.
That is true. That is true. Okay, we're going to get away from all the mushy stuff. Anthony is going to help us to learn better how to steward our finances during the holiday times. And so what I want to kick off by asking you is, I know that many times we'll decide at the last minute that we want to be prepared to do something that we haven't prepared for in the beginning. And so it becomes November or December, and we want to get all these amazing gifts, but we haven't saved up. I want you to tell me, how can people still still be able to get good gifts and bless people and do all this amazing stuff for the holidays, but not find themselves in January in a whole bunch of debt?
Well, number one, as you said it, which clearly is skipped over. You know, it bothers me a little bit, though, Dr. Green, that people can forget about Christmas when it falls on the same year every single year.
Same day.
How do we forget? But if we forget, if we do forget the budget, here's the very first thing that I would definitely say is just sit down and look at your budget. Like, seriously, we got to stop being scared of the B word, budget. I mean, budget gives you freedom to actually enjoy your money, to actually spend your money without any regrets. And when you look at that budget, look and see where can you maneuver some things around. As long as you're not touching like your necessities, like your living, your transportation, your food, and your utilities. But if, let's say, for example, you got 15 different small apps. Now, respectfully, I'm gonna say this. Y'all ladies have them apps where it make y'all skin look a little bit better.
We be flawless.
Make your hair look a little bit better. Maybe get rid of those apps during the holidays.
Okay.
So y'all can spend some more money on that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, here's what I recommend. A lot of people don't like this, but if you're trying to find some good quality gifts that doesn't break your budget, I would go to apps like Groupon.
Okay.
Groupon has some amazing deals on there to where if you're trying to give away experiences and maybe it's like some nice things, you can go to Groupon and you can gift those experiences. But again, stick to your budget. And if you have a tight budget, I'm a huge fan of going to Groupon, especially if you're single, you're trying to gift like your young lady or your young man an experience. Groupon is a great route to check out.
I love that. And you said a word that generally is not equated with budgeting, which was freedom. Most people feel like a budget is a limitation. How did you come to see budgeting as a act or a resource for freedom rather than like, oh my God, like this is a limit and I can't go beyond this?
But when I was young, man, I didn't have a budget. I'll get my paycheck on Friday.
Yes, sir.
I'll spend it all over the weekend. Come Monday, I'm looking at the bank account and I'm like, what happened? And even while I'm spending the stuff, I'm sitting there like, yo, can I afford this? Like, can I really do this? And here's what I was doing. I was looking at my bank account, but not the vision for my money.
Whoa.
And so what I realized is when I was spending without vision, the Bible says it clearly, where there is no vision, that's where people perish. So if I remix it a little bit, where there is no vision for your money, that's when it perishes. That's when you have holes in your pockets. And so I was like, you know what? The budget actually gives me freedom to enjoy spending my money because I know that I'm sticking within the vision. So now, as a single person, when I'm going out on dates, or when I'm buying gifts for her, it's the holiday seasons, right?
Yes.
I actually feel good knowing that, hey, I can enjoy this date and I still got money in the bag. I don't have to worry about things. I don't have to be stressed out wondering where did things go. So when people hear the word budget, it kind of bothers me that they associate that with a negative. No, what it's telling you is if you go buy your car, the Bentley, the Honda, if you go buy a nice little gift, if you go on vacation, you can enjoy that knowing that you're within the limits of what you need to have so that way you can have freedom here and you can go back home and still have freedom as well. So
really
I love the word freedom. And I actually replaced the budget word with vision. I just attach the word vision to my money. What's the vision for my money? And it tells me yes or no if I can or cannot spend it.
I love it. Love it. It really kind of reminds me of a conversation my husband and I had recently. We had bought, some nice stuff for ourselves, but he started saying to me, like, we have to actually start thinking about what we're accumulating wealth, but for what? And I think that's kind of the whole point of this whole idea about vision. We need to get to the why behind why we're spending what we spend so that we'll spend it well. Now, one thing that I want to get to, because I don't want to get so far in that people don't understand, even when you were talking, you can hear passion. You can hear how you're matching the spiritual, mental, financial component all in one. And I love that you don't leave one part out. You're talking to the wholeness of a person and how you even enjoy or feel fulfilled giving. How did you get to that point? I heard a little part of your testimony being 19, homeless, different things like that. How did you come to love finances and even get into the space where you have so many things to say about finances?
Well, I became to love finances because I was afraid of being broke, I was afraid to experience, honestly, some of the things that my parents experienced. And, you all have had the opportunity to meet my parents. And my family, I have great parents, right? I have 4 loving parents. I have 2 biological parents and I have 2 other parents. I hate the term step. But they really couldn't teach me how to build wealth because they never really learned how to build wealth. They taught me everything about the word of God. And if you get $100, give $10 to God, the other 90 is on you. But and then it taught me how to shout and pass out in the church and tarry and speak in tongues and all that type of stuff. But it never taught me how to really build wealth, how to start business, how to, really live within your means. And so graduating high school, I knew everything biblically. I know the word of God, but I didn't know how to live life. And so made some bad decisions, racked up a lot of debt, about $35,000 in debt. I became homeless at the age of 19 because I was being a hard head and just running away from my calling and my assignment from the spiritual perspective. And my fathers wouldn't let me back in their houses. And it was like, hey, since you think you're a grown man, go be one. You got to live with the choices that you've made. And it was during that season that I realized that, hey, you know what, that the caliber of my financial future will be determined by the financial choices that I make that day. And I was like, yo, I want to learn how to become wealthy. I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of being homeless. And I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck. So I just started branching out, started learning different avenues and started looking at people like Robert Kiyosaki, Dave Ramsey, Grant Cardone, John Maxwell, and really learning different things. And one method really stuck with me, which was right around like a Dave Ramsey method, was being completely debt free, owing no man nothing, and really experiencing true freedom, which I believe is it starts with true stewardship. So when you have stewardship, it leads you to financial freedom. When you have financial freedom, now you really can experience being generous. You can experience being your number one tither. Like my goal at the end of the day is to be so wealthy that at my local church, I'm the number one tither at my church.
Come on.
And I don't even know if I am the number one tither, but my goal is I want to be so wealthy that I can bless the kingdom, that I can bless my family, and that I can bless others. And then, of course, enjoy the money myself. But I really want to serve the kingdom first and my family second. So that's where the passion really comes from. Is I love waking up every single day. And the only payment that I have to make is my mortgage payment. Outside of that, nothing else. And it just gives me so much freedom knowing that if life was to happen today, I'm okay for a while. And that's because I was a good steward.
I love that. Oh, the wow is just good to me. That was so classy. I'm okay for a while. I get it. You said, oh, no man, nothing. So I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this question, but because it's such a hot topic and thing that people use often now, these new layaway plans like Klarna and Affirm and all these different things like that, is it a recommendation that's a no, or maybe sometimes? What is your thoughts about that as people are preparing for the holidays? Maybe they pay as they go, or you're like, don't do it?
No. Listen to me clearly. And I had to watch myself because I'm sitting at the table, but I'm not on the table. I
told you to be yourself.
I want to be invited back. So I got to say this in the green way. No, y'all just be wise with your money. No, if you can't afford to pay for the shirt on Klarna, then you don't need the shirt. Okay, if you can't afford to pay for the dress, those high heels, get off of Fashion Nova. If you can't afford the $15, $20 dress, and you need to pay for it over 4 payments, then you don't need it. Let's just be real. And so for me, when I look at anything, when it comes to borrowing money, right? I look at it like this: do I absolutely need it, and is my future worth that? And when you really look at the debt robs you from your future.
Whoa.
When you look at right now, it's like a lot of people being turned down for homes, for wealth building opportunities, because they're drowning in so much consumer debt. And when you really look at the consumer debt, it's the simple stuff. Let's be real. I remember my first $500 credit card. And I'm embarrassed every time I say this. But when I look back at it, y'all, I spent $150 at Red Lobster. $150 at 1-800-Flowers.com. Y'all pray for me because it's hard for me sending flowers to a woman these days and time because I just get flashbacks, right? And then I spent $150 at the mall at Dillard's on a Dooney and Burke's purse. So I financed $500 to impress a woman. Not for an emergency, not for life things, but to consume. I could have just took her to back then, in the early 2000s, ladies would probably get upset with me, but I could have took her to TGI Fridays. Come on. 2 for $25. You know what I'm saying? I could have went out there to my grandmama's backyard, picked up some roses, gave her some roses for free, and then I could have, forget the purse. I would have got her the purse down the road. But what I'm saying is all this financing stuff, isn't it funny that we will get into debt to impress people, and those people won't even pay us back. Those people are not even there for us. And so, no, I would definitely say stay away from borrowing as much money as you possibly can because it does not benefit your future. Biblically, the Bible says it is best for us to be the lender instead of the borrower. It's best for us to be the head and not the tail. And we can't be the head. We cannot be generous with our money if we're drowning in debt and we're always following what the world is saying.
No, I totally agree. And they know our story. My husband used to take me to the dollar movie. My very first wedding ring, literally, no shade, seriously, used to turn my finger green. I wasn't into my 8th year of marriage until I got another ring, but he gave what he had. And what was attached to the symbol of the ring was real integrity. It was real love. It was a vision for our future. And I believe that if he had been so focused on trying to impress me or impress people, that we might not have gotten to the future that we got to as fast as we had, not prioritizing the main thing. And so I just really appreciate just your perspective about how debt can block and hinder our future. What I want to arm the person watching this with, because they'll hear like, man, if you can't afford it, then don't even go toward it. That can be very discouraging. But it's getting close to the new year and we can turn a new leaf. We can do something new. I want to ask the question, they might not be able to afford it right now in October, but if we're just looking at November, what are some steps that they can start to take? What are some small little changes that they could start to tweak, that they could start to see a whole nother new level of financial freedom by the time they get back to this time next year, just with simple things that you might give as advice?
Yeah. One of the things that I do is when I first started this process, right, I was like, all right, cool. How can I start seeing more money instantly? And we got to go back to the V word, budget and vision. Oftentimes, you know what I'm saying? Your pay raise is inside of your spending. And so I would definitely say go back and see what are some things you can cut. Why do you have, Netflix, HBO, BET Plus, Disney Plus? Why do you have all these streaming apps, when you only need one? Why do you have Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Tidal, whatever that is? Like, you can literally go into your budget and you can find an extra $100, $200, sometimes even $300 inside of that app. And what's so funny is I actually just did that. I'm gonna call my own self out.
Okay.
There's this little box subscription thing that I subscribe to, and I totally forgot about it. It was like they send me like nice little gifts every quarter, and it's like $100 a month. And I was like, I haven't used this thing in about the whole year. So I canceled that. Okay. And I got back $125 a month, and then I subscribed to this other box where they send me clothes. And I was like, man, I ain't worn none of these clothes since So I canceled that subscription. So within my budget, I found $200 that I really wasn't using. And I'm using that and saving that now towards Christmas gifts and things that I do around the season. And so that's the very first thing, is to go on ahead and to attach that. Then let's just say, let's be real. A lot of people can use some extra income because they'll look at the budget. They're probably already squeezed on their budget, so they probably can't find nothing. So what we can do is, how can we add some more income coming in instantly right now? Okay. And one of those things right now is Amazon is hiring drivers left and right now because of the holiday season. FedEx is hiring drivers right now. They're paying anywhere between $17 to $23 an hour just for you to go out there and just drop off some Christmas gifts around this season. So I would definitely look into delivery companies right now, and you can make an extra $1,000, $2,000 in the month of November instantly, just by stepping up and working an extra 4 or 5 hours within that particular week.
I love the idea of just looking to maybe not something that you would automatically assume. It might not be in your normal field of interest, but just going to do a small thing, Uber and even the delivery companies that you spoke about, it's adding a great bang for your buck, so to speak. And I really love that it adds greater financial freedom. What you got? What you got?
Now I'm gonna say this.
What you got?
Because you told me to be myself. I'm about to upset some of these brothers right now.
Okay.
And the sisters.
Okay.
If during the holiday seasons, y'all know it's getting cold.
Okay.
And single people, we want to kind of like cuff up and just, find some love.
Yes.
And I think right now, if you're on a tight budget and you're trying to find some extra things to do with your family, maybe not dating during this season can save you financially and it can save you spiritually. I'm just going to be real because, when it get kind of cold, I'll let Dr. Green and Travis talk to the spiritual side because you already know where we're going with that one. But on the money side of things, the dating during this season, and honestly, I'll be real with you. I actually like being single during the holiday seasons because I ain't got to give away no gift. I don't have to spend no money on no woman. God is good to me, but I would definitely say that if you are single during this season, find a way, and to be very clear.
Okay.
Brothers, find a way to be very clear. Like, hey, this is my vision for my life. This is the vision for my money. I know right around this season, ladies tend to expect some things. And I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you to the best of my heart. And ladies, receive that because I don't want you to miss out on your Travis Green. The way,
come on now.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to miss out on someone who can't do something today, but you never know what he can do tomorrow.
That part.
And I've been there. I've been overlooked because I couldn't do something. Now all of them see me today like, hey. And I'm like, nah, you didn't want me back then. So you can't have me today. So I just want to throw that in there. I was just thinking about that. Like, maybe not dating during the season might be a good look for you if you are living paycheck to paycheck.
Ladies, I hope y'all are listening. Men, I hope you're listening. This is some good information. And I would have never thought about that. It just is a way to add a little more, a little more cushion. But question, if you do got a girl, maybe you are dating in this season, if, say for instance, y'all are on different income levels and you like, man, I don't really know how to impress this girl. I do have a vision for my life, but how can I get them something that's still worthwhile? Maybe it's not romantic, but it can even be a friendship. I know they got a lot more money than I have, but I don't want to break my bank trying to keep up and we're not even in the same tax bracket. How do we handle that?
Man, that's, to me, coming from a guy who's single, that's actually easy. If you have a woman, who goes to y'all church in Columbia, South Carolina, that's one, that's a great woman. So she ain't looking for expensive things because, her spiritual parents teach some wisdom.
Yes.
So I would say, men, this is something that I do, right? When I meet a woman who I'm actually interested in, I actually have like a notepad.
Okay.
And I'm listening to everything that she says that she's listening to, her favorite color, her favorite restaurants. Like I'm jotting down stuff that I see that shows her interest. And what I've learned over my 38 years of living is that women are not really, the right woman, let me say this, the right woman is not really impressed by how much you spend, but how much time and attention you put into creating an experience for her. And so I think sometimes, brothers, we get lost, like, oh, we need to go drop a bag to impress her during the season. But no, if she said something and you happen to write it down and you actually turn that into an experience for her, she likes roses. Well, take her to a rose garden. Well, her favorite color is this. Take her to that. Or she likes museums. One gift that I gave to the last young lady I dated, it was actually pretty interesting. She said that she actually enjoys going into new cities and learning about the culture of the city. Okay. So I was like, okay, cool, great. So she came into the city. I didn't take her to dinner. I went on Groupon and I found this little, it's like a little maze thing to where they'll send you a text message and you got to go find different things inside of the city. So you got to go to this bar, you go to this museum, you got to go to this particular park, you go to this thing, you got to type in and answer the question for that particular assignment. And she thought, because we was getting these text messages, you won, or you're almost there, you're close. And she's like, oh man, that was like a $500 experience. I was like, nah, baby girl, that's like $15. Whoa. You know what I'm saying? But the experience was great. And she really thought that I put so much money into it because at the same time, we ate, we got to know the city. And it was a city that I was living in. So I think for us, during this season, what you can do is just, if you know your woman, brothers, and if you know your man, sisters, look at what they really experience. I'm a golfer. So if you take me to Top Golf, I am happy. You know what I'm saying? If you come and give me some golf socks, I am happy. If you give me a golf game for the PlayStation, I am happy. You know, I don't need the expensive stuff. And I think most people who are wise, they want the experience and the thought, not just the money.
I love it. I love it. One thing that I will add or ask is, if you had to say that there was one thing that most people are ignorant about when it comes to finances, that people just don't know that's off the table, that is a real big thing in terms of advancing you financially, what would you say that is?
That's a real good question. No one's never asked me that. Only Dr. Pat. Only Dr. I would definitely say, that's a good one. This is a good one that a lot of people don't really pay attention to because it doesn't impact them, right? A lot of people think that paying their minimum balance on their debt is actually good because they're making the payments on time.
Okay.
When no, it's not good because you have to understand that, let's say, for example, you have $1,000 credit card.
Okay.
And you're only paying $30 an actual, month. Well, you're still accruing that interest every single day.
Yeah.
So your balance is actually eventually going up. And so then now you're creating more debts. Like, oh, I made the payment on time. I'm cool. I'm great. Let me go spend my money over here. But no, you actually need to be paying off this debt and putting as much money to it because you're racking up interest every single day for that. And what you don't want to do is be comfortable making a minimum payment when you should be making the full. So that's number one. And number two, I would definitely say a lot of people overlook like their student loans. Like, well, it's in deferment. Well, here, let me tell you this much.
Okay.
I did a study about 3 months ago with home mortgages with Churchill, right? And they said that, man, nearly within the African American community, nearly 62% of their denials was because of student loans in deferment. Not bad credit, not bad debt. It's just that they have so many student loans and it's in deferment. So they know within the next 30 years, you're going to have to eventually pay those student loans. And when those student loans become available, you can't afford the mortgage payment anymore. So what I tell people is just because, they're in deferment doesn't mean that you can actually get into a home. So now look at it. Something that you're thinking that is okay is now preventing you from building wealth.
I love that. Really, really strong. And it was something else that I just found out recently. I'm really big, and I was told, you need to build your credit, you need to build your credit. I didn't know, we were using our credit card more rather than using just our bank account. And I didn't recognize that although we had it on automatic draft, it doesn't allow you to do automatic draft until 15 days after the statement closes. Well, they actually pull the credit and send off to credit unions before you actually get to pay that payment for your automatic draft. And I was like, whoa, it was having an effect on my credit score. So actually going in before that statement closes made a dramatic difference in my credit score going back up. I never would have known that, but I just thought it was so interesting, the things that you learn even about just accruing interest and credit and different things like that. So I just wanted to add that for anybody else that might have been seeing their credit drop because of something like that. Throwing it to the couch and make sure they don't have any questions before we jump.
I think for me, one of the hardest things, even when we're talking about credit, is you made the comment of, or just pay it all off. And it's just like, if I had the money, I wouldn't have put it on credit. But just getting out of that mindset of paying the minimum, even if it's bit by bit, I guess just kind of what was that mindset shift that helped to kind of go from looking at it like a credit card that you can just kind of build up until I hit the limit to no, it's just a tool that I use to just pay off, and it, I get points over here. But I think that's such a difficult even mindset shift in our family of just that paying it all off and all of that stuff.
Yeah, for me, I actually we don't really use credit cards, right? So I think there's two kind of people. People like you all who can have the credit cards and then pay them all off, right? And have no balance. And the biggest thing for me is I don't like carrying debt and I don't like paying interest and penalties. And so that's two things that are very big to me. Yeah. And I think it's only about maybe 8% of the people in the world can honestly carry a credit card, don't carry a balance, and don't pay any interest. And I'm looking at three of the ladies right here, right? Well, one of them. Okay. But then it's like on the flip side, I want to show people that, hey, you don't have to rely on a credit card. Okay. Just use your balances and just use your cash to pay for it. I don't have a problem with either side, truly. Okay. My biggest thing is don't carry debt. Don't pay any penalties. Good. Now, if you know you're going to carry debt and you're going to pay interest, then you need to be on the no credit side, the no credit card side. Okay. If you're one of the 8% that can do it in America and do that, then hey, by all means, do what you do. But it's definitely possible on both sides. So I want to show people on this side it's definitely possible. But then on this side, my parents, they have a credit card. And that's cool. You know, I will probably end up getting an American Express, just to be honest with you all. I've just said it here on this show for the very first time in America. You know, but it's like, for me, if we do go down that route, it's really going to be more so of, like I said, carrying no balance and make sure that we pay no interest and penalties. Because let's be real, getting free airline miles, getting that kind of stuff, that is an attractive thing.
It
you know,
is.
why not take advantage of it? But there are 90% of the people in America who cannot do that, and that's why they start drowning in debt.
Really smart, really smart. You got anything?
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that like a lot of Americans don't even have like $1,000 in their savings account, period. Like they just don't have it. And so I think I want to speak to the person that is like, you know, y'all talk about credit, y'all talk about all this stuff. Like, I'm just trying to make ends meet, and I'm trying to have a good holiday season for my family. Like, what would you say to encourage that person who they just ain't got it? They don't have the knowledge. They don't have anything. They're just trying to have a good season with their family.
You know, right now, if you're listening to this show, you're in the right mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because you're getting the wisdom and the knowledge that you need. I mean, you're correct. 54% of American people do not have $1,000 in their emergency fund, and that's scary. And so I would tell everyone that's listening that if that's you, do not be discouraged. Number one is you got to put a plan on paper. And before we can even put a plan on paper, I really want you to step back and just ask yourself, why do you want financial freedom? Not why do you want $1,000 in your bank account. It's why do you want financial freedom? One of our good friends, Dr. Darius Daniels, says, if your why doesn't make you cry, then the price of commitment will make you cry. So I really want you to spend some time and just ask yourself why.
Okay.
Why? And when that why gets very emotional to you, to where you start getting emotional, some tears start coming out of your eyes. When I think about my why, we don't have enough time to share that today, but my why is very similar to the Greens. It's like my mom didn't have a ring. She didn't have a wedding. She didn't have a honeymoon. My dad never took her out of the country. We lived paycheck to paycheck. I mean, y'all, sometimes we would eat French toast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because we always kept bread, milk, and eggs in the house, but that's all we can afford. And my why is I want to make sure that my kids and my wife and I, as a family, we never have to experience that. My wife will have a nice ring. My wife will have a wedding. We will have honeymoons, not just one, moons. You know,
love it.
I'm trying to enjoy what God has now given me the license to enjoy. But anyways,
Yes.
bring it back in. So when I think about my why and I think about my family and being generous and creating, you know, legacy for my children, that gives me the encourage to put $1,000 in my emergency fund, to avoid debt, to start building wealth, to be creative. And so what I've learned with people who are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck is not always because they don't have access. It's because they don't have self-motivation.
Sure.
And they really haven't dug deep to really be like, all right, okay, cool. I'm changing because of this.
Yeah.
When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Listen.
life changes. Life changes.
In
But
all
people are
areas.
comfortable. And so I would definitely encourage and start right there.
That was really good. And what I love the most about this whole conversation is, even though we're talking about finances, and generally when people think of finances, they think of all this stuff, you speak a lot to the internal, like the why behind it, the vision. It's so many things that are before you actually start seeing the tangible stuff. It starts inward before you see outward manifestation of, you know, the fruitfulness that you want to see, whether it's financial or relational or whatever the case may be. I love where your emphasis is, because when it gets right in here, I do believe that you see a brand new life. One other thing that I wanted to add, and I don't know if you have any other things that you would want to add, just as we're getting ready to close this out, I think many times people will minimize small steps. I remember being very overwhelmed, Anthony, just like, okay, I remember going to the Dollar Movie. I remember the Junior Bacons and starting to gain more wealth and recognizing, like, man, if I just put $10 away for 10 months, that equals up to $100. Like, we don't feel like, it, you know, that taking the small step will make a big impact. And I really, for anybody watching that might feel overwhelmed or like, this is over my head, I'm just really, really asking you to take the small step, even if it's just, I'm going to save $100 a month. If you do that for a little while, you'll be amazed at how quickly that'll become something major, and it'll become a principle for life. But not forgetting the thing that Anthony said, which is why you're putting it aside. Because if you have a why attached to it, you won't touch it. If you're just doing it out of like duty, you're 9 times out of 10 are going to go back and use it, but your willingness to slow down to understand, I'm putting this aside for legacy, or I'm putting this aside so that I don't end up in debt and not have, freedom for my future, I think it'll help you a lot more. Any final thoughts, Anthony?
I'll leave y'all with this. Be content with where you are. Just don't be complacent.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, be content with where you are in life. But if God gave you $100 million vision and you're only producing $50,000, you're kind of hurting God a little bit. Because he gave you the vision, and if he gave you the vision, he'll give you the provision. And sometimes I think what I see people is like, I'm content with where I am. I'm content with living paycheck to paycheck. As long as I pay the bills, as long as I got a good 401k, when God put so much more on the inside of you. He took his time to form you. He took his time to really just knit you the way that you are. And I think that a lot of people are in the season of where they are, not because of God, but because of themselves. And if you can be like, all right, cool, I'm content with this house, I'm content with this job, I'm going to be the best employee at this job, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be joyful, but I know that there's more for me and my family. And if you can just have that attitude and be willing to learn, to get the knowledge and the wisdom, then watch God do something major in your life. And it starts, like I said, in here, internally. We got to be content, we got to be joyful with where we are, but we also got to be getting the knowledge and the wisdom to even go further. Because the wealthier we do become, the more we can impact the kingdom. And I'm tired of seeing the celebrities, non-kingdom people impacting the world. And the Christians, we're just sitting here praying, but not really making an impact. And I think we got to be making an impact. And finances are a huge part, not the only part, but they are a huge part of that. And so I thank you for what you all are doing there in Colombia. Every time I come home, I was born in Colombia. Yeah, my family's in Colombia. Native. Yeah, so, I appreciate what y'all do in Colombia, because Colombia needs what you all are doing. And thank you for the opportunity to share with y'all today.
Man, thank you so much for joining us. The last thing I'll give you all watching is something that my husband says often, and this is what I want your prayer to be. We often will pray for the wrong thing. We'll ask God, give us more money, give me the $100 million. And it was what Anthony was hitting on. We ask God to give us vision, and he gives us provision, but we don't ask for management on how to maintain the provision we've been given. So we pray for the money, but we don't ask for greater levels of stewardship. And this is what this Holiday Money Moves episode was all about, trying to give you tips and practical ways for you to understand not just how to get money, but how to spend it, how to manage it better, even in the holiday season, and being able to take those same principles throughout your everyday life. I hope this was a blessing. Thank you again, Anthony, for being with us, and we'll see y'all next time. Love y'all so much.
Hey ladies, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Permission Talk. We would love to have you stay connected, so do us a favor and like, share, comment, and subscribe. Go ahead and comment your favorite moment from this week's episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Permission World, which is Dr. Jackie's online Facebook group. We would love to have you be a part so that we can continue the conversation. We'll see y'all next week.